basically I turned out to have quite psychic gifts, and so I was able to penetrate through
Very accurate intuition.
super accurate intuition, but also that things happened to me and strange occurrences and people actually turned up. And so another pivotal moment for me was my partner died. It was my birthday, St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day. I put on St. Patrick's Day. It's just been a thread through my life. So he went off to get some wine. We were out living at the beach in another part of the North Island, and he never came back. He went off a cliff, and I was only like 24. So he was a bit younger. It's like 21, I think, or 22. And that was totally horrendous. So it was, and then two other friends suicided all at the same time. And I just thought, I can't be here. It's not good for me to be here. And I felt that I needed to find out who I was. So it was a soul journey. And so off I went. And I stayed away for 45 years, as I said. So it took a while, but I did get to the end of it and found out who I was. But mainly when I came back here, the final threads were added. So my whole reason for going to Europe was to experience different spiritual paths, different religions. So I would continually be off on weekend events. I went to a few guru things until I realised they're fake. So I basically unzipped most of what was going on because it was the early days of the New Age, really, really early. It wasn't even called the New Age then. And kind of really threw myself in, but always with great reservations. And I thought, well, there's something for me here. But I never really surrendered and never got sucked totally in. Although I belonged to a British, like a spiritual group for many, many, many years, which I feel ultimately was adverse for me, very adverse. Because it was very narrow. And much, much later I felt, well, it really was quite a cult. Although we never would have dreamed of calling it a cult. It was just a place where we went to study different traditions and all that kind of thing. But there was all these sort of unspoken rules, or spoken and unspoken, about behaviour and who could do what. And it was very hierarchical. But none of that really, it took years to unravel that. And that was part of, that got mixed in with the trauma of my early abuse. And so all of it was quite suppressive on parts of me. So that became unraveled later. But that's where I met my husband. And we had like a mystical meeting. And we saw each other and we just magnetized and said to each other, I've been waiting for you. He said, I've been waiting for you. So it started off on a really good footing like that. We were together for 13 years, but ultimately what broke us up was the unresolved, ununderstood trauma that I had experienced. It broke us completely. Now, he blamed me, and many, many years later, he apologised, and he said, would you forgive me for the way I treated you and rejected you? And I said, I forgave you the day you left. He left. He just walked out, left me in the middle of Australia, not knowing anybody. But I said to him, I didn't want to carry that bitterness with me of you just walking out. And he said, I'm so, so sorry. I've been regretting it for 20 years. And I said, well, I didn't.